Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, that deported migrant, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, is headed back to the U.S. from El Salvador. The breaking news and exclusive photo of Abrego Garcia back on U.S. soil in custody. This comes after weeks inside that notorious El Salvador prison and a legal showdown. Our team breaking the story first. The news just coming in, the devil in the Ozarks. Authorities had thought he had fled the state. You might be surprised where they actually caught him. President Trump telling ABC News Elon Musk has lost his mind. 24 hours after their remarkable blow-up, the president revealing he has no interest in talking to his former ally, even as Musk tries to calm things down. Mary Bruce is at the White House, and Jonathan Karl has more on his call with President Trump. Also tonight, the new tornado threat, a reported tornado touching down in Arkansas. 50 homes and structures damaged. Severe storms from Texas to the Northeast this weekend. We time it up. And overseas tonight, after spending the night in a bomb shelter during a massive Russian assault, Martha Raddatz goes one-on-one with President Zelenskyy. How he's responding after President Trump compared Ukraine and Russia to children fighting in a park. The terrifying images, a packed ferry in Bali capsizing. An American passenger describes the frightening moments of the tour boat flooded with water. Tourists jumping for their lives, smashing windows to get to safety. After a no-good, very bad day, a single mom is pushed to a breaking point. Taraji P. Henson is here with a preview of Tyler Perry's Strong.
I mean, when you feel like you're not being seen or heard, I think that's all you have is a scream.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Juju Chang in for Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. It is a busy Friday night. Late word that authorities have caught the so-called devil in the Ozarks. And ABC spoke with President Trump today about his feud with Elon Musk. But we begin with the news breaking late today that deported migrant Kilmar Abrego Garcia is now back on U.S. soil. ABC News was there as the Maryland husband and father of the center of a high-profile court battle landed in Tennessee. More than 3 months after the Trump administration admitted it had mistakenly deported him, and the U.S. Supreme Court then ordered his return. Garcia is now facing charges for allegedly transporting undocumented migrants to the U.S. The charges are controversial. ABC News has learned the move prompted one high-ranking federal prosecutor to resign. We're getting reaction from the Maryland congressman who traveled to El Salvador on Garcia's behalf. But first, here's ABC's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, ABC News first to report Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who the White House initially said was mistakenly deported to El Salvador, is now back on American soil. A dramatic turn in an ongoing political firestorm. The government of El Salvador sending him back today after an arrest warrant was issued here in the U.S.
The man has a horrible past, and I could see a decision being made. Bring him back, show everybody how horrible this guy is.
That warrant connected to this 2022 traffic stop in Tennessee. Abrego Garcia driving an SUV with 9 other people inside.
How many rolls have you got in here? 4?
Troopers at the scene suspicious.
He's hauling these people for money. You got an collar is what he's doing. But.
And tonight, a DOJ indictment accusing Abrego Garcia of being part of a human smuggling operation that transported drugs, weapons, and thousands of undocumented migrants, including MS-13 gang members and children across the country.
He made over 100 trips, the grand jury found, smuggling people throughout our country.
Tonight, Abrego Garcia's lawyers blasting the government's actions.
They'll stop at nothing at all, even some of the most preposterous charges imaginable, just to avoid admitting that they made a mistake, which is what everyone knows happened in this case.
Abrego Garcia's return coming almost 2 months after the Supreme Court unanimously ruled that his removal to El Salvador was, quote, illegal, and ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his return.
And Pierre Thomas joins us now. Pierre, Garcia is now back in the U.S. but facing new charges. What does that mean for the court order to return him to the U.S.?
Well, DOJ has just filed a notice in federal court saying it believes that it has complied with the judge's order to return Abrego Garcia here to the U.S. and that case should be dismissed, Juju.
Pierre Thomas, thank you for that clarification. And we want to get right to Representative Glenn Ivey for reaction now. Congressman, thanks for talking with us.
Sure, my pleasure.
I know you've been fighting on behalf of Garcia's family, and you even traveled to El Salvador to check on his well-being. What's your reaction to today's announcement?
Well, you know, at least he's going to have a chance to come back to the United States and get into a court and have a chance to be represented by counsel. You know, frankly, when I used to prosecute MS-13, the process worked exactly the opposite of this. We didn't deport first. We didn't deport anybody, in fact, until after they'd been indicted, tried, convicted, and sentenced. But, you know, he's back now. This will start moving forward soon. I think he'll appear before a judge in Tennessee either today or tomorrow, I would think. The process will start moving forward.
This is a very specific criminal prosecution. As it gets underway, what will you be watching for?
Well, I think the details. I took a look at the indictment, and there's not a lot of details in there, which is unusual for a federal charge. So we'll see what additional facts come out. And, you know, I think there's going to be questions, too. I saw the press conference for the Attorney General, and they asked, when did she start working on the investigation? She avoided answering that. But it looks to me like they moved forward with this quickly to try and address the fact that they didn't want to be held in contempt in Greenbelt, which is the district court here, for violating the Supreme Court order to facilitate his return. So we'll see how it plays out from here.
And they're saying that they're returning Garcia to face these criminal charges, not to respond, as you suggest, to the court order to return him. What, if anything, do you think this means for others fighting deportations?
Yeah, I think that's why they're trying to draw that distinction. But it's clear that the Trump administration can bring people back, including there's like over 250 Venezuelans who are being held in jail down there in El Salvador now. At least 50 of them, according to the Cato Institute, hadn't committed any offenses here in El Salvador or Venezuela. And they were in the United States legally when they were taken away and deported. So I don't know that this addresses those. In fact, I think it doesn't. And I think they still need to be held accountable for those matters, too.
And in her press conference today, Attorney General Pam Bondi thanked the president of El Salvador for the okay to return Garcia. Does this fly in the face a bit of the claims previously that it was going to be so difficult to get these citizens, or not citizens, get these people returned?
Well, somewhat. I mean, it's different after a criminal charge has been filed. But I think at the end of the day, President Trump could call President Bukele and tell him to return any of the people who are being held down there, because they're not actually being held on criminal charges in El Salvador. And he could have them return. They'd be home for breakfast tomorrow. We saw how quickly Kilmar was brought back once the United States decided to move forward. They could get here just as quickly on that front, too. And they should be brought back so they can have their due process.
And when you did go to visit in El Salvador, what was your impression?
Well, it's my second time down there. The prisons are, CCOT is intentionally, I think, a gulag. And to hold people there who haven't committed any offense, haven't broken any laws, that's un-American. And the real problem, in addition to that, is we're paying them to do it. It's a contract between the United States and El Salvador to imprison people there. They're not turning over the full information about that contract, but the United States should not be imprisoning people who haven't done anything wrong. That's not the American way.
We're going to end it there. Representative Glenn Ivey, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Protesters gathered around multiple ICE raids across Los Angeles today. At one location, protesters clashed with authorities as they tried to prevent them from leaving in vans carrying multiple people who had been detained by ICE. Protesters could be seen throwing objects at the vehicle while others tried to block the vans from leaving. Developing tonight, an escaped inmate known as the Devil in the Ozarks has been captured in Arkansas, less than 2 miles from where he broke free. Let's get straight to ABC's Morgan Norwood with the details. Morgan, what's the latest?
Yeah, we're getting some new details about how Grant Hardin was caught, but then also we're getting some new images as well. Tracking dogs, we're learning, were able to pick up on his scent. And let's get right to those new images because we know that this is the way that he was found. You can see him there, hands right behind his back, just moments after he was captured. I think the thing here to keep in mind, Juju, he was found less than 2 miles away from the prison that he escaped from. Authorities in Israel County say Hardin, the former police chief, and by the way, the convicted killer known as the Devil in the Ozarks, captured this afternoon about 1.5 miles northwest of the North Central Unit in Calico Rock. They confirmed it was him through fingerprint analysis. He managed to escape, remember, back on May 25th by impersonating a corrections officer, even down to the way that he dressed and he acted. According to those court documents, that's what caused convinced another officer, to open a secure gate and then let him out of the prison. Since then, it had been an all-out manhunt. The FBI had put up that $20,000 reward. Remember, just this week, Border Patrol's elite tactical unit, BORTAC, had been deployed from Texas to help out with the search. After all that, turns out he never really got pretty far. But tonight, Hardin is back in custody. That search, Juju, officially over.
Morgan Norwood, thank you for that update. Fascinating. The very public meltdown between President Trump and Elon Musk seemed to quiet a bit today. Late today, the president addressed rumors that he may be planning to sell that Tesla he bought to support his one-time ally. Even as sources are telling ABC News, he continues to criticize Musk within his inner circle. Our Jonathan Karl spoke with the president on the phone about all of this morning. Here's his report.
A day after his explosive breakup with Elon Musk, President Trump told me Musk is, quote, the man who has lost his mind, adding that Musk wants to talk to him, but he's, quote, not particularly interested in talking to Musk right now. And just moments ago, ABC's Rachel Scott asking Trump about Musk.
Do you have any plans to speak with Mr. Musk? This was one of your closest advisors.
No, I don't have any plans.
Sources close to the president tell me Trump is telling people that Musk's outburst happened because he's using drugs. I asked Trump about that, but he wouldn't comment on the record. The president later told CNN about Musk, quote, he's got a problem. The poor guy's got a problem. This after yesterday's spectacle, which began when Trump in the Oval Office reacted to Musk's escalating attacks on his budget bill, which Musk has called a, quote, disgusting abomination.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Musk was watching, and while Trump was still speaking, he fired back, posting, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Such ingratitude. Trump responded on his own social media, suggesting Musk was just another disgruntled former employee, saying, quote, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. He also threatened to cut Musk's $20 billion in government contracts. Musk went nuclear, suggesting Trump should be impeached, and then going even further, linking Trump and notorious sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Time to drop the really big bomb, Musk posted on X. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. That explosive accusation caught everyone by surprise. FBI Director Kash Patel hearing what Musk had said while he was in the middle of an interview with podcaster Joe Rogan.
Jesus Christ, that's a crazy thing to say. How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Or does he have access to the Epstein files?
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump-Elon thing. That's way outside my lane.
What the are they doing?
I know my lane, and that ain't it.
But overnight, it seemed like both Musk and the president were trying to tone things down. When one of Trump's top supporters posted, they should make peace for the benefit of our great country. We are much stronger together than apart. Musk responded, you're not wrong.
And John Karl joins us now from the White House. And John, what else can you tell us about that incredibly insightful phone call you had with the president this morning?
Well, Juju, while he did say that Musk was the man who just lost his mind and made it clear he is in no hurry to talk to him, I have to say that his overall tone was one of at least trying to give me the impression that he didn't care about it at all. He had no real concern about it. As a matter of fact, the first thing I asked him when he picked up the phone I made the comment that was quite a day yesterday. And he said, what do you mean, my call with President Xi? The Chinese president. He was acting like it's just not something that concerns him. Maybe he'll talk to Musk at some point, certainly not in any hurry. By the way, one other thing, you remember that red Tesla Model S that Donald Trump bought with a lot of fanfare back in March to show support for Elon Musk. Well, the White House tells us they're considering and looking into either selling or giving away the car, although Trump was just asked about that on Air Force One, and he said he hasn't really thought about that either. By the way, that car, I just checked, is still here, parked at the White House, less than 100 feet away, over there.
Absolutely fascinating. Thank you, John Carl. Some eyewitness reporting. We're going to turn now to severe storms on the move right now from Texas to the East Coast. At least 21 tornadoes have been reported in the past 24 hours, including this giant one near Lubbock, Texas, a state that could see more of the same this weekend. Lee Goldberg joins us with the forecast in a moment, but first, ABC's Maria Villarreal with a look at all the damage tonight.
Tonight, more than 35 million on alert for severe storms. Tornado sirens sounding in Van Buren, Arkansas just after dawn. Sheet metal flying off this warehouse. Authorities in Van Buren say at least 50 structures were hit.
How's your place?
It's gone. Everything's gone.
Families in shock.
I just heard a big noise. My window cracked. A tree fell in the window. Man, it was this close to my bed.
Overnight, multiple tornadoes reported in New Mexico and West Texas. This powerful twister churning near Lubbock. Storm chasers Simon Brewer and Justin Drake getting up close.
Oh my gosh, man!
Storms also dumped torrential rain that swamped drivers in shallow water, Texas. Lightning likely to blame for these massive oil storage tanks erupting in flames southeast of Oklahoma City. And an early round of storms in the Boston area taking down trees. Planes stacked up at New York's LaGuardia Airport. More than 100 flights canceled there alone as the Northeast is under threat again tonight.
Juju, behind me, you can actually see the damage that was left behind by those storms. Straight line winds hitting this building, you can see, taking it all the way down. Families that I've spoken to in this area, they're extremely concerned about the weather that is expected to come over the next few days. We're talking more hail, more weather, more rain, obviously, and then we are in a tornado watch for the Lubbock area right now. So definitely a lot to watch for over the next few days.
Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg of our New York station, WBC. He's been tracking the threat of severe weather as we head into yet another boisterous weekend. Lee?
Yeah, Juju, covers a large swath of the country, too. I mean, once again, it's tornado watches across parts of the Texas, Oklahoma panhandle into parts of Colorado. These are hard-hit areas. There are more warned storms tonight and more rounds over the weekend, flooding into Oklahoma City. Another tornado watch, western Kentucky and Tennessee. And we've had severe storms across New England, into the Hudson Valley of New York, and showers near the New York City area. So let's time this. There'll be rounds of showers and thunderstorms into the Northeast that could bring some flooding on Saturday. They'll be offshore late day into the evening hours. Our focus for severe weather will turn to the south. It'll extend from the plains all the way to the East Coast, and the enhanced threat for damaging winds, that could be over Mississippi and Alabama into the afternoon and evening hours. As we go into the second half of the weekend, it's more storms along the East Coast from Virginia Beach down to Savannah, and a renewed threat of severe storms in the Texas panhandle, storms from Dallas to St. Louis as well. We just can't get away from the storms in Texas and Oklahoma. Juju?
Lee Goldberg, thanks as always. And overseas, we turn now to the war in Ukraine. New details tonight about Ukraine's daring drone attack inside Russia. President Zelenskyy opening up one-on-one with ABC's Martha Raddatz, who is in Ukraine, a country under attack as Vladimir Putin retaliates with intense airstrikes. Here's Martha in Kyiv.
Tonight, Ukraine reeling from a deadly and terrifying barrage. Nearly 500 Russian missiles and drones raining down on Ukraine. Russia says this is retaliation for that stunning Ukrainian attack, those Ukrainian drones that flew deep inside Russia and set Russian military planes on fire. Now, Russian missiles slamming this neighborhood in video circulating online. And outside Kyiv, where we are, explosions as Russia's fury is felt here. Ukraine's national athletics team taking cover as bombs fell around them. We took shelter during a relentless 4-hour-long assault here, our team in the bunker, as Russia targeted nearly every corner of Ukraine. More than 50 people have been killed or wounded in these attacks. And tonight, with his country under attack, my exclusive interview with President Zelenskyy.
Quite a night. Thank you for coming. Yeah, difficult night.
We ask about that brazen drone attack on Russia. Drones launching out of containers atop trucks, soaring toward their targets, setting multiple Russian warplanes, including nuclear-capable bombers, on fire. Zelenskyy telling me it took 1.5 years to plan, then making this stunning revelation, saying the Russians themselves unknowingly delivered those drones to their locations.
You had Russian drivers who had no idea.
They didn't know.
They didn't
know. The drivers didn't know what they do. Yeah, they just did their job.
And 3 years into this bloody war, we asked the Ukrainian leader to respond to this comment from President Trump, comparing it to 2 children fighting in the park.
Sometimes you see 2 young children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park. And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart.
Do you think the president is getting that message when he says things like it's 2 children fighting?
A президент. Це не відносно президента Трампа, а будь...
It's not about President Trump, Zelenskyy told me. It's really about any person who is thousands of miles away and cannot fully feel and understand this pain, adding, "We are not kids with Putin at the playground. He is a murderer who came to this park to kill the kids."
Our thanks to Martha Raddatz. We're going to turn now to the high-profile trial of Sean Diddy Combs, and week 4 wrapping up with emotional and disturbing testimony from one of Combs' ex-girlfriends testifying under the pseudonym Jane. ABC's Aaron Katursky has been following the trial from the beginning inside the courtroom. Aaron?
Juju, this was a deeply distressing day. The jury heard hours of anguished testimony from Jane, Sean Combs' former girlfriend, using a pseudonym. And her testimony was punctuated by frequent sobs and sniffles loudly into the microphone as she recounted a degrading pattern of sex with male prostitutes. She saw pictures, but she could not remember all the names. There were so many men. And eventually, this occurred so often that she said Sean Combs didn't even have to ask. She knew what to do. And she remembered the pain in her back from being made to stay in one position, giving oral sex, the infections that she got weekly, she said, and was not given ample time to heal before the next one. But she told the jury she felt obligated. Sean Combs was paying her $10,000 monthly rent, and she said he would hover it over her head so she didn't forget. She'll be back on the witness stand here on Monday and throughout much of next week. Juju?
Aaron Katursky, thank you. Today, the U.S. and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation halted aid distribution in Gaza. Organizers said overcrowding made it unsafe to continue operations. It's the latest disruption to the relief effort there. Earlier this week, it suspended operations after hospital officials reported more than 80 people had been shot dead, hundreds wounded near distribution points between June 1st and June 3rd alone. ABC's Tom Soufi-Burge has been digging into the newly formed U.S.-Israeli aid organization's issues. Tom, what are you learning?
Yeah, Juju, we got the first interview with the new executive director of the controversial US-backed aid scheme in Gaza. Dozens of people were killed near to the organization's distribution sites last week when the IDF said it opened fire on 2 occasions, quote, towards people who they said had deviated from so-called safe corridors. In our interview, Dr. Johnny Moore, he's an ally of President Trump, called those deaths a tragedy and pushed back on the idea that the operation run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, as it's called, is, quote, somehow disproportionately imperiling people. Take a listen. But the basic point is that people who are hungry, malnourished and desperate are moving in your scheme, the way it's set up, to try and access food. And they die. And that ultimately shows that your scheme is part of the problem, doesn't it?
No, I think that's a quite cynical
point of view. I mean, the fact is that we've distributed nearly 9 million, so it'll be 10 million meals to Gazans, to thousands and thousands and thousands of people. It's an active war zone. This is one of the most complex humanitarian crises of our time.
Now, Juju, major international aid agencies have refused to participate in this American-led plan, saying it limits aid and is part of Israel's military strategy. Israel rejects that and says it's needed to stop aid being seized by Hamas. Now, the operation, which has only been going 10 days, has been plagued by controversy. Dr. Moore, who you just heard from there, says they're working to prevent any more deadly incidents near their sites in the future. Juju?
Tom Sufi Burge, thanks for that update. We're seeing dramatic video which shows a packed tourist boat capsizing off the coast of Bali. We see panicked passengers jumping for their lives or smashing windows to get out as the vessel flooded with water. The ferry boat capsized after it was hit with a large wave. Thankfully, no one was severely injured. And coming up, the investigation into a $20 million illegal gambling operation and the sheriff now behind bars accused of running the entire operation. But first, inside the Kim Kardashian heist in Paris, exclusive new details about what went down from two men who were there, including one of the so-called grandpa robbers. Tonight, we have new and exclusive details of Kim Kardashian's harrowing heist at gunpoint in Paris from two men who were there. One of them also a victim, restrained next to her, and the other, one of the thieves. I got a chance to go to Paris to meet one of the so-called grandpa robbers and the hotel concierge tied up with the star. The questions many are asking tonight, where are the jewels? Here's part of our all-new Impact by Nightline, inside the Kim Kardashian heist. Kim Kardashian, as fashionable as ever. But this is no fashion show. This is her defiant walk into the Palace of Justice to face the criminals who held her at gunpoint, bound, gagged, and then robbed her 9 years ago. 10 suspects on trial, some now in their 70s, dubbed the grandpa robbers by the French media.
This is not the apple dumpling gang as they have been portrayed, the grandpa robbers. This was an armed robbery kidnap.
We traveled to the City of Lights where that notorious jewel heist went down. Now, two of the men who were there that night telling us new details. And the shocking outcome only prompting more questions.
This is not America. That was wild to me.
Paris Fashion Week, an unapologetic, fanciful parade of glamour. And in the fall of 2016, Kim Kardashian was at the center of it all.
She has brands, really high fashion, high-end brands, throwing everything at her. She's the belle of the ball.
Sharing her movements on social media, front row at Balmain.
In a private room, after the Balmain show, today's challenge was underwear or no underwear.
Then stop at Givenchy's offices.
Second look at the day. You guys guess where I'm at?
Flashing a diamond-encrusted grill. And that ring, 18.8 carats, worth $4 million. An upgraded wedding ring from her then-husband, Kanye West. Through it all, Kim was staying with her sister Courtney, her personal assistant, and her stylist, Simone Harouche, at this hotel, a posh residence where celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio, Madonna, and even Prince have reportedly stayed. We've just checked into the Hotel Portales. Back in 2016, it was known as the No Name Hotel. In fact, you couldn't even get a reservation unless you got a referral. On that fateful Sunday, Courtney goes clubbing, accompanied by the family bodyguard, Pascal Duvier. Kim calls it a night, calmly posting a selfie video from her room, unaware that a group of robbers were beginning to close in on her. We sat down with one of them, Eunice Abbas. Did you know that your target was Kim Kardashian? And did you know who she was?
Alors non, je ne connaissais pas Madame Kardashian. On m'a toujours dit, quand on m'a présenté l'affaire, l'épouse d'un rappeur.
Eunice and his band of alleged grandpa robbers brought their bicycles through these front doors, which were unlocked at the time. They went through this corridor, across the courtyard, to the front doors, where the concierge sat alone. Around 2:30 in the morning of October 3rd, the boss and two of his cohorts banged on the front door, demanding to be let in, wearing masks and fake police jackets. Abbas emphasizing fake.
On a mis les kawaii police, où c'était marqué police, c'était juste des kawaii, c'était pas des uniformes de police, c'était juste un pare-pluie, puis il y avait marqué police. Et donc il a frappé à la porte, il a demandé où il a appelé le concierge, il a dit ouvrez, police. Dès qu'on est rentré, on l'a entouré.
After they zip-tied the concierge, Abbas says he stayed on the ground floor to keep watch, while the other two men forced the concierge at gunpoint to take them up to Kim's suite just before 3 a.m. The robbers held her at gunpoint and escaped with Kim's jewelry, valued at more than $6 million by her insurance company, while she was nearly naked and alone in her hotel room. Kim detailing her reaction to them busting into her room on her show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
I saw two guys holding another guy down in police uniforms, but right outside of my bedroom, 5 feet away. So I slid off my bed and picked up my phone, and I'm like, I don't know how to call 911 in a different country. And so I called Pascal, and then the guy came and grabbed the phone from me, threw me on the bed. And I was like, this is it.
These evidence photos, never before made public, showing the crime scene. Authorities say the men then bound and gagged Kim with black zip ties and duct tape. Kim was then carried to the ensuite bathroom. Kim explaining on the show that she was thinking of her family throughout these terrifying moments, the concierge translating between her and the robbers.
And I said, while I'm being tied up, I'm like, are we going to die? Are they gonna kill us? And I was just crying and tell them I have babies.
The thieves seen here on this security footage making their getaway on bikes. At some point, you fell and the jewels spilled out on the street?
Et ensuite, la sangle qui dépassait s'est pris dans la roue. Et là, j'ai chuté, je suis tombé. Et là, quand le sac s'est versé, j'ai trouvé des bijoux.
By then, Kim's bodyguard, as well as her sisters, Courtney and Kendall, had rushed back to the no-name hotel. An exasperated Kim was questioned until 4 a.m. before she was finally allowed to fly back home on her private jet.
I can't really stress the dangerous nature of an armed robbery. We could have woken up that morning and read, Kim Kardashian dead from botched armed robbery.
Kim's harrowing ordeal left many in disbelief.
It's horrific, but thank God she's okay.
After the robbery, Kim Kardashian uncharacteristically went dark. Many in the media trying to piece together what happened after Kim's interview with Parisian police was leaked, including the fact that she mentioned the hotel concierge was extremely calm, even though he was being held at gunpoint.
I, like many people, thought that he may have handed over inside information to help the robbers. That wasn't true, and that became clarified. And in fact, he became a vital witness.
That concierge reclaiming his truth.
The consequences of the haste was very terrible for me.
Abderrahman Ouattiki, who's from Algeria, was working at the no-name hotel at night while studying for his PhD at the prestigious Sorbonne University. He spoke to us outside the Palace of Justice about the immense scrutiny that followed him after Kim's police account of that night was leaked. You wrote a letter to Kim Kardashian. You said when you feel the cold steel of a gun on the back of your neck.
Yeah, you have to be calm. So you have to be wise in such situations.
Eventually, he was cleared as a suspect after authorities discovered DNA on duct tape and the zip tie used on Ouattiki, which was left at the scene.
The grandpa robbers left a trail a mile wide, and that evidence was damning.
Now Eunice, who even once wrote a book about his role in the armed robbery called I Sequestered Kim Kardashian, says he has regrets.
Some people think the timing of your regrets has everything to do with the timing of this trial.
Oui, parce que c'est la première fois que j'ai une affaire comme ça, où les victimes sont vraiment traumatisées.
Finally, after nearly a decade, the trial begins. All 10 defendants came to court every day. 9 men, 1 woman, ranging in age from 35 to 79. A crush of reporters and police descending onto the courthouse for the trial's biggest day as the 44-year-old was set to testify.
Kim shows up in vintage John Galliano skirt outfit, a $3 million necklace that was 52 carats, diamond rings, diamond earrings, anklet, diamond, diamond, diamond.
10 days later, a verdict in the Parisian Palace of Justice. Eunice Abbas and his victim, the former concierge, under the same roof one last time. Kim Kardashian did not attend the final hearing.
What are you expecting for today?
Justice.
Hours later, the big news. 2 suspects were acquitted. Everyone else found guilty, including Eunice Abbas. But to the world's shock, not one person was sent back to prison, many credited with time served or given suspended sentences.
C'est quelque chose que vous vous attendez?
No. The judge said they were too old and had too many health problems, and he wanted to be very lenient on them because of that.
As for Kim, who spent years advocating on behalf of incarcerated people, she said in a statement, "While I'll never forget what happened, I believe in the power of growth and accountability and pray for healing for all. I remain committed to advocating for justice and promoting a fair legal system."
I respect Kim Kardashian, but I call foul. Justice was not served. And if she doesn't want to say it, I will say it for her. They should be in jail for what they did. For much more on this story, watch Our Impact by Nightline, inside the Kim Kardashian heist, now streaming on Hulu. And coming up, a devastatingly bad day pushes a hardworking single mother to the breaking point and into a shocking act of desperation. Actor Taraji P. Henson is here to talk about her new movie. And Pride Month is now underway, and you may be wondering just why it is June every year. We go by the numbers. As many of you already know, June marks Pride Month. But have you ever asked yourself, why June? Well, to answer that, we turn to tonight's By the Numbers. The very first Pride Parade took place in New York City 55 years ago, on June 28, 1970. It was exactly 1 year after the landmark Stonewall riots began, which were sparked by a police raid on Stonewall Inn, a popular gay bar in Greenwich Village in Lower Manhattan. The events unfolded over 6 days and are widely credited for igniting the modern gay rights movement. During the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, did you know the NYPD used a 3-article rule where officers often threatened to arrest people who weren't wearing at least 3 pieces of clothing that aligned with one's assigned sex at birth? It took 30 years after the riots to make Pride Month official when former President Bill Clinton signed a proclamation in 1999. And that was 4 years before the Supreme Court issued a sweeping ruling in 2003, which no longer considered homosexuality a crime in the United States. So there you have it. The Stonewall riots, one day in history, is now commemorated with a month-long celebration of parades, marches, and flags. Coming up, several yachts charred after flames tear through a marina. Plus, Tom Cruise lands himself in the Guinness World Records for one of his death-defying stunts in the Mission Impossible franchise. A Florida sheriff arrested, accused in a $20 million illegal gambling scheme, several yachts up in flames after a marina fire, and Tom Cruise, A-list actor to Guinness World Record holder. These stories and more in tonight's rundown.
The FBI and Department of Homeland Security are warning of an elevated threat against the Jewish community. The warning comes days after a man allegedly threw Molotov cocktails at marchers in Boulder, Colorado, and just last month, 2 Israeli embassy staff members were shot and killed in Washington, D.C. Officials say the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict could motivate other violent extremists and hate crime perpetrators to attack Jewish and Israeli communities. The public should stay vigilant and report any threats or suspicious activity. A Florida sheriff was granted $1 million bond Friday following his arrest in an illegal gambling scheme. Osceola County Sheriff Marcus Lopez is charged with racketeering and conspiracy to commit racketeering. Investigators say he was running a gambling operation that took in over $20 million. Lopez has been suspended as sheriff. It's unclear if he has an attorney or how he'll plead to the charges. A major early morning fire destroyed several yachts at a Florida marina. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue says flames broke out on one boat in Sunny Isles Beach and spread to others nearby. Firefighters managed to put out the flames, but 4 yachts, 2 boats, and 2 personal watercrafts were damaged. No injuries were reported, and the cause is under investigation. Flight disruptions continued a day after 45 Delta regional jets were pulled from service for Wi-Fi inspections. The FAA said Endeavor Air, the Delta subsidiary that operates the affected planes, informed them that certain Wi-Fi system inspections might be overdue on some of its aircraft, and that it was grounding those planes Thursday afternoon. Delta said the inspections were not an issue of safety. Coca-Cola has recalled certain Topo Chico mineral water bottles. That's according to a recall notice listed on Costco's website, which cites concerns of possible bacteria contamination. The affected bottles were reportedly sold in 18 packs in 5 states: Arizona, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, and Texas. Certain Costco locations have alerted members that the recalled waters were sold the last 2 weeks of May and possibly had Pseudomonas, which could have potential health consequences for people with weaker immune systems. Tom Cruise's performance in the 8th and most recent Mission Impossible film is officially record-breaking. Guinness World Records said Cruise set the record for most burning parachute jumps by an individual after leaping from a helicopter 16 times with a parachute lit on fire while filming Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Guinness World Records says no other actor or stuntman has come close to that number of those types of jumps.
Deeply impressive. Well, what would be her last straw? That's the question director Tyler Perry and actress Taraji P. Henson wanted viewers to guess. In their latest collaboration, Netflix's drama Straw, the Oscar-nominated actress plays a hardworking single mom who is pushed to the breaking point after a series of devastating events. Henson delivers a powerful performance on a movie made to keep you on the edge of your seat. Our Linsey Davis sat down with the actress to talk about it all.
I didn't mean to do this. Something inside of me broke.
We are so fortunate to have Taraji P. Henson with us this evening. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so it sounds like Tyler Perry wrote this movie with you in mind. I know you've collaborated with him before. Was this particular time different, having the director say, you are the main character here?
No, it's every time he calls and says, I have something for you. You know, he challenged me like this once before, and the reason why I say challenge is because I was filming Fight Night when he called. The first time it was with the script Acrimony, and I was in the throes of playing Cookie on Empire. And I was like, well, you know, I don't know if I can, you know, I'm still playing Cookie. Can we wait until the show is over? He said, we can't wait. I need to go now. And if anybody can do it, you can. And I was just going to shoot it in 5 days. I was like, I need more time with the character. He said, no, you don't, Taraji. You can do this. So he challenged me, and now I'm kind of like a pro at it.
You rose to the occasion.
Yes.
And so what is that process like to do this whole movie? Because you're really in virtually every scene in 4 days.
I mean, you know, if the story makes sense, it's easy for me to retain the lines.
As the viewer, we're on the edge of our seats with you, feeling your desperation, feeling you're at your wit's end. But I thought in particular, when you scream at the moment when you've been evicted, what do you draw on for that?
Imagining how I would feel if I ever got evicted in the rain with a child who is sick and needs medicine and Medicare. I mean, when you feel like you're not being seen or heard, I think that's all you have is a scream.
I wanted to talk about the timing of it, because there's a line at one point in the bank where an elderly woman says people don't know how expensive it is to be poor. And I'm wondering how you feel that this plays in this moment where a number of people do feel forgotten, a number of people do feel that they're not seen and not heard.
And specifically now with all the government cutbacks and everything, you're talking about underserved communities being further underserved. It's enough to make you want to scream. And I feel like Tyler is very calculating when he writes these stories. They're coming from a real place. And I think he's very aware of what's going on in real time. You don't know how hard it is to take care of my baby. Or for what I make. I can't get half of what she needs. And my landlord didn't care.
What would you like viewers to take away after they see Straw?
I just hope that people can realize that humans need humans, and you can't always judge a book by a cover. You know, when someone has an episode in public, there's always a why behind it. I can't excuse every crime that's been done, but if you look a little further, they've been pushed to that point because we're all born good. There are things that happen in our lives that have us choose whether to go down the dark path or the light path. And we all come to that crossroad at some point in our lives.
One of my favorite quotes is Shirley Chisholm, who says, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. During a commencement speech recently, you talked about how you were always fighting for a seat at the table, but then you realized, I am the table.
Yeah.
You've watched my journey both on screen and off. It hasn't been pretty or easy. I've had to fight for equity and a seat at the table until I discovered that I am the table.
So there was a moment in my life and career where I was very frustrated with Hollywood, and it was changing the person that I am. I'm the light of the party. I'm the good time, you know, and my light was becoming dim, and I felt outside of myself, if that makes sense. I got unfocused about knowing that I'm called, chosen, and covered, and knowing that God has put me in this place in this time for a reason, and it's not just for myself, it's to inspire others, you know, and for me to give up and stay in this broken place would be a disservice to God and why I was chosen. It's not something that I didn't know and I had to learn. It's something that I already knew that I strayed away from.
That is a good word. It is a sermon for many, and many will accept that, hearing it from you. What's next?
What's next? Oh, God. You know, I'm looking into directing. I'm producing more. I have a big announcement coming, but again, I can't say anything.
Okay, all right.
But it's big, it's huge, and I think people have been waiting for this to see me in this light. So I have another surprise coming.
Okay, all right, you're going to have to come back on the show
I will.
And reveal it to us
I will.
then. All right, Taraji, thank you so much for the conversation. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Our many thanks for that profound conversation between Linsey and Taraji. Straw is now streaming on Netflix. And that's our show for this hour. I'm Juju Chang. Please stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks for streaming with us.